Hey, what is up, mortals? It is SBurkVA here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 2 of What If Izuku Had the 10 Rings. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So, we begin. Izuku raced through the streets on his morning walk to school. This, in itself, wasn't an odd sight for the passersby who had grown accustomed to the lighthearted boy walking the villain-plagued route every day. But the glowing rings on his arms did draw a double-take from the more observant ones. After all, they were new. But they didn't have long to think about it, as a giant villain, literally, broke the typical routine. And the road. Izuku lit up as he watched the exchange between the mugger and the responding rookie heroes Kamui Woods and Mount Lady. But the fight was finished quickly, albeit with plenty of photographs taken, and Izuku continued on his way. Soon enough, Aldera Junior High School came into view. It wasn't a high-end middle school, but it was what Izuku had. The green-haired boy dashed through the gate in the brick retaining wall that marked the school's property to join the rest of his classmates in the yard. The chaotic din of the middle schoolers playing and shouting was dominated by the gruff voice and accompanying firecracker-like sounds of one Katsuki Bakugo, who, of course, Izuku made a beeline for as soon as he saw him. "Kachan!" The boy in question gave a quick huff before turning towards the Deku that annoyed him with dreams. "What is it now, Deku? Come to bug me about your fantasies of becoming a hero?" "Not fantasies," Izuku replied. "The reality. I got my quirk last night." Izuku's declaration, albeit a slightly fudged lie, stunned Bakugo, and the cronies that typically flanked him. "Are you kidding? Don't make us laugh, Midoriya. You're useless." "Yeah, if you had a quirk, we'd have seen it by now. We're 14, idiot." "Deku, you're quirkless. You don't have a quirk." Izuku put a cork in Bakugo's sentence with an energy blast that impacted the ground in front of them. With wide eyes, Bakugo looked at the fist-sized indent in the packed dirt and then up at its source, Izuku's right arm. His shock deepened as he saw the 5 brass-colored bands attached to Izuku's arm, glowing a bright blue. Katsuki exploded. "Damn it, nerd. Have you been hiding a quirk this whole time?" Katsuki grabbed Izuku by the collar and slammed him up against a nearby tree. The commotion started to draw attention from the other students and the teachers in the courtyard. "Hiding? What? No! Why would I do that? I just told you this happened last night!" Katsuki scoffed. "Yeah, right. Quirks don't just magically appear overnight, Deku. How does this even make sense? Rings? You made a dent in the ground, Deku. How in the hell is that related to either of your parents' quirks?" "I can control the rings! They're small objects, and it's focused on only them. The energy is just a projection, like how my mom can move a bunch of different things, only mine is compacted because I can only move one. Set, because I can only move one set." Katsuki growled, but before he could say anything else, a shout rang across the courtyard. "Bakugo, put him down, now." "No, Deku's been lying to me, and I want answers this instant, or this will be going on your record." Bakugo released Midoriya. After all, a record of violence would make it infinitely harder to get into UA. And yet, his surprise was written all over his face. Teacher had never threatened that before. Mr. Midoriya, my congratulations on the development of your quirk." "What?" "It was a pleasure to hear the news from your mother over the phone just now." Bakugo shut up. He knew that Inko Midoriya was definitely not a liar. The bell rang and began the morning flood of students into the doors of the school. For Midoriya, the day was odd. His classmates clamored around him trying to get an idea of what his new quirk was and of his new, rank in the student hierarchy. But, really, this really disillusioned Izuku. He knew that his classmates were shallow, to say the least, judging by how basically none of them had come to his defense against Bakugo, and, throughout the entirety of his school career, he was relentlessly bullied by not just Bakugo, but also them. So, them treating him this differently was a stark change. But the day continued, and eventually he ended up sitting at his homeroom desk in the final period of the day. The noise level in the class was as high as you might expect, as the students waited for their teacher, the same one who came to Izuku's defense that morning. He arrived soon enough, carrying a stack of papers that he set down on the podium at the front of the class. All right. Settle down, class. So, as third-year students, it's time to start thinking seriously about your futures and what you want to do with your lives. I could pass out some career aptitude tests. But why bother? I know you all want to go to the hero track. At their teacher's declaration, the class began to cheer and show off their quirks, all except for Izuku and Katsuki. The former, who was staring out the window, pondering his classmates' superficial focus on quirks, and the latter, who was sneering at their classmates and thinking about how they were all beneath him. Hey, Teach! Don't let me in with this bunch of losers. I'm the real deal. The next number one. These guys would be lucky to end up as a sidekick to some busted D-lister. You think you're better than us, Katsuki? Jeers and protests rang through the class at Bakugo's polarizing words. Some of the students agreed that compared to some heroes, their quirks weren't flashy or powerful, like the walking bag of TNT that posed as their classmate. Others were insulted that they were being looked down on by the kid who always seemed to get leeway and special treatment. Come on, don't be like that, Kacchan. Quirks aren't everything to being a hero. Tactics and strategy are important too. And I'm sure a bunch of our classmates could be great rescue or strategy heroes and be plenty effective against most villains and criminals. Who gave you the backbone? What the hell do you think you're saying, Deku? You really think these bums have a chance? I'll take all of them, and you on, anytime. Well, you do have impressive test results. Maybe you will get into UA High. At that statement, the class clammed up. They all knew about UA's absurd acceptance rate and the quality of the heroes it put out. Most of the present top 50, let alone top 10, were all graduates of the institution. If Bakugo got in, then he was probably onto something. Unfortunately. I aced all the mock tests. I'm the only one at this school that even stands a chance of getting in. I'll end up more popular than All Might himself. Izuku scoffed at that. And be the richest hero of all time. People across the world will know who I am, and it all starts with UA High. The teacher hummed in thought. Oh yeah, Midoriya. Don't you want to go to UA too? Well, I may have had my doubts, but academically you certainly rival Mr. Bakugo. And now that you have a quirk that seems combat applicable... The homeroom teacher nonchalantly took off his glasses to clean them as he continued. I wouldn't be surprised if we have at least 2 UA students in our school's future. This video is sponsored by SOUNDPEATS and their new True-Free 2 wireless earbuds to provide the next level of quality and comfort. Ever gone out for a run and have to readjust your buds every 5 minutes? How about worrying about getting caught in the rain and ruining your $200 earbuds? Well, those days are behind you, with an ergonomic design created to stay on through even the most rigorous workout, or function through a cascade of rain with its IPX7 water resistance. Enjoy 20 hours of battery life and seamless switching between earbuds without interruptions, and at a fraction of the price of most premium earbuds. Check out the new True-Free 2 wireless earbuds in the link in the description below. Also, know that using the link below, you won't only get an excellent audio experience. You'll be supporting the channel so we can continue to provide the highest quality content possible. Each purchase helps, so if you're on the lookout for a new pair of buds, we've got you covered. The class took up their murmuring again, all sharing the sentiment that their teacher had just expressed. They all saw the small crater Izuku had made and suspected he wasn't using whatever full power he may have. Some considered the new offensive power the green-haired boy now possessed, and even others noted that UA had abolished their quirk requirement shortly before the school year they were in. Whatever the opinions of the class, Bakugo's frustration grew exponentially compared to their awe. The blonde boy let out a growl before he began. Listen up, Deku. I don't care if you somehow developed a stupid quirk. You're even worse than the rest of these rejects, you lying wannabe. Why would UA ever want you when they could have someone like me? I'm not trying to compete with you, Like hell you aren't. Bakugo quickly approached Izuku, his hands raised, but with no sparks flying from them. I look forward to seeing you be completely annihilated by myself and everyone else like me at UA. If you get in, I'll buy a lottery ticket. That seems counterproductive. Bakugo, back in your seat. And all of you, quiet down. It's the last period you're gonna give me a migraine. No. I'll pass these forms around now. Just make sure you get them to me by the end of class. Okay? Great. Katsuki gave a curt laugh before sauntering back to his seat. The rest of the period went by quickly. The class drained out the door faster than you could say school's out. Even Katsuki and his cronies left with only a glare in Izuku's direction. This time deciding that it really wasn't worth it to confront him. After all, they had better things to do now. Izuku strolled along his way home while reflecting back on his day. Even after seeing how they treat Kacchan, I didn't expect how they'd react to the rings. Why are they so focused on quirks? Who am I to ask that? Izuku pondered the superhuman society he lived in as he made his way under a nondescript concrete bridge. Even as he did, an unfortunate byproduct of that society was currently approaching rapidly. Izuku's musing was interrupted as a substance began oozing out of a storm drain cover in front of him. He yelped and stumbled backward as he saw a massive pile of sludge with angular eyes form before him.
"You'll make a perfect skin suit for me to hide in, kid."
The villain shot toward Izuku with blistering speed, especially considering he was made out of, what appeared to be mostly slime. He created several slime tentacles and grabbed Izuku, enveloping the still shocked boy and attempting to force the slime into the kid's mouth.
"Don't worry, I'm just taking over your body. It'll be easier for both of us if you don't fight back. It'll only hurt for a minute. You'll feel better soon."
Izuku's lungs burned as he resisted the viscous liquid. The villain wanted to take his body and use it to escape, presumably whatever hero he's running from. If he weren't being chased, he probably would have kept on running instead of trying to hide, or kill him. But no matter what hero was chasing the villain, there was still the immediate problem, that being air. But what could Izuku do to get out of this? Physical objects would go right through a villain made out of basically liquid, right? But the rings weren't just physical, were they? Thinking quickly, Izuku activated the rings. Flying up from his wrist and latching onto the rest of his forearm, he crossed his unbound arms in front of his chest, charging them, and then bringing his arms out at the shoulders while releasing the energy. The resulting blue shockwave wasn't limited by a single ring, and violently forced the slime villain out and away from Izuku. The boy sucked in a breath and coughed.
Damn it, kid. I don't have time for this. Not with him chasing me. Get over here, you brat!
The slime villain once more attempted to smother Izuku with his ooze, but Izuku fired the rings toward the villain. He rocketed backward from the force, putting him out of the reach of the first grab. The rings flew through the villain's body harmlessly as he splattered where Izuku had been kneeling moments before. But as they reversed course to return to Izuku, they went through again, one of the rings hitting the slime villain's eye on its return. The villain howled in pain as Izuku let out a small noise of shock, quickly realizing what happened. The rings had hit one of the only physical parts on his body. But Izuku couldn't revel in his discovery for long, because he made the villain mad, and that wasn't good. The slime villain started chasing Izuku with new fury, now aiming to maim or even kill rather than simply grab. But now, the sentient pile of slime wasn't in control anymore. He suddenly found himself being forced to dodge as Izuku sent energy bursts and rings toward his eyes, targeting his only real weak point. The two started playing a short game of cat and mouse, neither gaining ground, and that was bad. Izuku may have the rings, but he still hadn't trained his body. His stamina was extremely limited. The boy's breathing was heavy, and his arms felt that way too.
Finally, I've got you now, brat!
The villain once again rushed Izuku, who was now too tired to move out of the way. Luckily, he didn't have to. The manhole cover that the sludge villain had originally wormed his way out of shot straight into the air, embedding itself into the concrete above, revealing a haircut that Izuku was very familiar with.
All Might!
All Might? Don't worry, young man. I am here. Izuku watched in awe as his hero reared back his fist and yelled, "Detroit! Smash!" The sludge villain was sent flying, splattered in chunks across the concrete area, but still very much alive. Izuku was dumbstruck as he watched steam rise from the power of All Might's fist, and he stared as the number one hero turned to him. That was very impressive, young man. And since you were acting in self-defense, I don't think anyone needs to know about that quirk use. So, want an autograph? Izuku fainted. Thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed. Before you leave, we would just like to let you know that We the Celestials has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you'll need is right below here in the description. So, feel free to check out all the other incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. Now, have a wonderful day.